Well, let's see, I'll start off by saying that I don't believe Obamacare as it's currently structured is salvageable, because it doesn't matter what hospital administrator you talk to, they will tell you that the system will implode, whether it's in 6 months or 12 months. Most of them fear the point that the employer mandate comes on board, that the true snapshot of what we have with Obamacare is going to come about. So that's the base where we'll start with, that if Obamacare doesn't work and we have to go to a plan B, what is that plan B? Well, first off, I struggle with the fact that we had a system that did have faults. There were some that had fallen through the cracks. But what we took was a system where you did have your own doctor, you did have your hospital, you did have your insurance agency, your insurance company, and they were your choice. So that wasn't a terrible system that we had. As a matter of fact, now it looks like a great system. But where we're at is, can we go back to the old system? That gets into some pretty complicated stuff, because you have insurance companies now that have had to switch and change, policies that have changed, deductibles that have changed, the monthly amount that's being charged to have that policy has changed. And that, I think, would have to be the first question, is how much of the old system could we bring back? Because, and to a degree, I think that the Republicans failed in not having a plan B. The only plan out there was Obamacare, and so when it passed, because no one else had a good plan on the books ready to go, it was the only show in town. And now that's failed. We need to go back and look at some of the medical savings plans that were never really followed through with, and there needs to be a combination of what we had before and something to fill that void for those who were not covered.
Well, I'm a little bit pragmatic, and I believe that there won't be a chance to repeal Obamacare until 2017. So, what do? We make it work. We go to work, we fix the holes, we patch the chinks, we make it happen. We have, no one can be, everyone can get health insurance now. What a big deal that is. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's a big deal. You can't be thrown off after you get over a certain limit of cost. You're not going to lose your coverage. These are big deals. You can save all the money you want to, if unless you're a billionaire. If you get a serious illness, you might spend $500,000 a year. If you're not lucky enough to die, it's going to take everything you have, and then it's going to start costing us money. Because the old system, people that went in without any money, without any coverage, went to the emergency room. They got covered, they got taken care of, and it passes on to us. My brother's a medical doctor. He said it doesn't make any difference to him. They get paid whether it comes or goes. But the stuff that's getting done in an emergency room costs 4 times as much as it would in his private clinic if someone had the insurance to come in and get it. Now, Obamacare had a bad rollout. There's a lot of things wrong with it, but there's a lot of things right with it. And instead of wasting our time, 50-some votes in Congress, when they know it's not going to repeal now, let's come up with some plans, let's think of something, and let's get it done. Let's fix it.
All right, I guess I'm going to jump back on that one. The caution I will give you with this, and let me give you 2 examples. I grew up dealing with the Indian healthcare system. This is a government-run system, and it is probably the most deplorable that you can imagine. It is common to come in the morning, first thing in the morning, and to set the entire day hoping at some point you'll see a doctor. Now that doctor is going to be one of two things. He is going to be too old to be into the regular system. Essentially he's been kicked to the curb by the normal medical system. Or you're going to have someone who's so young that he's just out of medical school and he's repaying his government loan. And that's what they have. Now, Native Americans have not always got the best deal, but the idea of now making that a national system, and you say, well, that's one incident. But let me share another. If you like government health care, the VA is what you also have. Now, the VA has its strengths and its weaknesses, but just last week I was in Ord, and I felt so sad and so sick for this gentleman who came into the emergency room. They had called Grand Island trying to get permission to move forward with his care. They were patched off to Omaha. Then the person they talked to, they tried to get back with to get the final okay. He was gone. He didn't tell anyone else. 8 hours into this ordeal, the man is still in the emergency room. The government healthcare system is just that. It is this giant system where people become invisible and you are not given that care that you deserve. The care you deserve is from that doctor who knows you and people who know you, and I fear that if Obamacare fails, and I don't think you can honestly look at it and not say that there's a potential at some point it will collapse, that a single-payer system isn't the ultimate end state. The single-payer system is essentially what we see with the VA and with the Indian healthcare system. And we will have a much lesser quality of life and quality of healthcare if that's what we end up with.
Colonel Brewer, my dad's 89 years old, veteran in World War II, gets his health care from the VA hospital in Grand Island, Nebraska, and very, very satisfied with it, and we're really thankful for it. That's all I got to say.
Gentlemen, I'll do just a few more questions and we'll get to some of the questions that we did get from the audience. I do want to get their opportunity to weigh in on some of the issues that they feel is important as well. But an issue that's going to be coming to the forefront very soon is on the topic of immigration reform. And it seems by many to be an economic and national security imperative. What can we do to improve border security, and what can we do to better help these citizens that want to come into this country do it legally? We'll start with you, Mr. Sullivan.
Well, the first thing we need to do is pass a comprehensive immigration reform bill that will deal with not only border security, which is important because of terrorists and extremists and danger to our country and national security, but more importantly, we need to streamline, make the regulations work so folks can immigrate to work in this country in a reasonable amount of time. Not 3, not 5 years to get in, but a few months. That is what we need to do. As far as folks that are in the country, whether they're legal or illegal, we cannot, they don't want amnesty. They want a chance to earn their way into this country. We need a program that will let those folks become legal workers where they pay it, make sure their taxes are collected, make sure they stay out of trouble. If they can do that for a certain amount of time, I don't know. It doesn't matter whether it's a year or 5 years, 10 years. It doesn't make any difference to me. What I mean is those folks are willing to work. They want to be here. They need a chance to earn their way in. We got here from Ireland, Denmark, Germany, everywhere else. And quite honestly, some folks have said, well, they came through Ellis Island, they were legal. I think my grandfolks came in from Ireland before Ellis Island. And I bet they aren't legal, but I'm still here. I think we need to take care of those people. We cannot have a permanent underclass in this country. We will not prosper. It just will not work.
Well, this issue came up at Scotts Bluff also, and I'll share the same thing with you as I did there, that obviously I have a bit of a tainted view of this with my Native American heritage. Immigration takes on a little bit different meaning. But I also believe that the unrestricted entry of people in the United States breaks our laws. You know, it burns the infrastructure. I think it does not allow us to fairly utilize those taxes that people are paying. So I'm completely against amnesty, and why that's even come up I struggle with, because we need to realistically cap the number of people who are allowed in each year, even if it's through this system where they study and they take the exam and they raise their hand and they become U.S. citizens. I don't believe you can have unlimited entry, because at some point it will no longer be the country that we know. Everybody from every third world country who wants to have a better life will come here, and we will become that third world country. So I think that you have to carefully look at those that are here. Obviously those that are violent, we probably need to keep them in the prisons and quit hauling them across the border and turn them loose and then come back. That makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. The issue of the border is not an immigration issue in my eyes. This is a national security issue. Maybe it's the military part of me, I don't know. But sometimes in our war gaming, we try and imagine how we would think if we were a terrorist. And if you're a terrorist, this is not a difficult math problem. What you do is you go to Mexico. You take whatever you're going to bring across the border, whether it be drugs, guns, or explosives. And then you just simply find the weakest point on the border where there is no fence and there is little security. When our Border Patrol have been told, do not engage, observe and report, do not take them as prisoners on the border, simply report them. That is about as a blank check as you can possibly have if you're a terrorist and you want to come in the United States. Money has been set aside to build a fence, and I know a lot of people are opposed to that, but let me give an example. When I was in Israel, we had a chance to see the fence that's between the Gaza Strip and Israel. When they completed that fence, the suicide bombings ended the next day. And to this day, they don't have the suicide bombings like they did. There was a time when there was a suicide bombing every other day. Fences work, and we need one there because we can't control that entire border. We need to give them some obstacle so that we don't have this uncontrolled access to the United States. Everybody says, well, you're being paranoid. Nothing will ever happen. They said that before 9/11 too. They're not going to do the obvious and fly a plane into a building the next time around. They're going to bring stuff across the border that they need to take out power stations, bridges, key infrastructure, and they will collapse the economy of this country because we sat on our hands and we were ignorant to do the basics that we owe the people of the United States, and that's protect them. So it's a national security issue, the border. And I believe the process does need improved. If you want to become a United States citizen, there should be something in place where through a normal period of time, and my language assistants are coming back, my interpreters from Afghanistan are normally in that 1.5 to 2 year range from when they arrive till they can raise their hand and become a citizen. That sounds like a lot of time, but I think realistically that's probably about as good as we can have with a system as big as it is and as many people as we're trying to process. So, as I guess a quick recap, no amnesty, improve the system, and seal the border, and make our country more secure.
Colonel Brewer, I shouldn't be impertinent here, but quite honestly, if you were really wanting to be in the United States for bad purposes, you'd come through Canada. It's much easier.
I'm not saying don't seal both borders. I'm just saying seal the border.
That's all.
Gentlemen, when it comes to issues of gun control, it's been a topic that's been widely debated back and forth. What is your stance on gun control? Is there a balance that we might be able to come to in Washington, D.C.? Colonel Brewer, I believe you can start.
The compromise is I get my guns and nobody else gets them. Let me